Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today I'm using my color bursts. I have the Brights assortment and I've got this Altenew layered medallion A, which goes with B, but I'm not going to use B. And then I have the Simon Says Stamp Circle saying set. So I'm going to take my stencil and I have a box that I've put on my craft table. I'm going to lay it inside this box. And I'm going to use my Krylon Easy Tack Repositionable Adhesive. It's just a spray-on adhesive. And so I'm going to just liberally spray this quite a bit on one side of the stencil. So I'm doing this in my craft room. I don't mind the smell. Some people don't like it. If you don't like that sort of thing, then you can just take it outside. But I honestly don't think it's that big of a deal. So what I'm going to do is let that dry for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to rotate it so that I have this top one and bottom one, because it'll fit better on the card this way. So now I'm going to carefully center it, obviously the sticky side down, onto some Strathmore 90-pound watercolor paper. And so I'm going to position it in the center and then make sure, this is the key, is you want to press down on every single little bit of this stencil to make sure that it's completely secured to your paper. So the next step is to just spray on some water. Actually, this is optional. You can just go ahead and put your color bursts on first if you want, but I think you can see them a little better when you put some water on your cardstock first. I got this tip from another member. If you just turn your bottle upside down and do one light tap on the bottom of the bottle, you'll get just a perfect amount of color. So you can see I'm tapping it maybe like 6 or 7 times in random spaces on my cardstock here, and then I'm going to move on to red. I'm just using 2 colors, yellow and red, because they're going to mix to make orange, so I felt like I really didn't need to put any orange on there. Alright, so same thing, I'm going to tap it, and you get a lot of color out of this little bit of powder. So I probably put on maybe a little bit too much, but I really wanted the color to be super bright. So I'm going to put my cap back on, and now it's time to really spray this with water. So I'm going to put a ton of water on here, and that'll get my color moving. Now my stencil has a lot of intricate detail in it, so I didn't get powder in every single little tiny compartment. So I'm going to make sure that I get color in each area by just taking a brush and moving it around. So I'm going to pick it up from some areas and put it into other areas, because there are some that are like maybe 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters in diameter. So I really want to make sure that I get a really nice defined pattern. And I ended up pulling some water and making sure that I kind of spread that color. And also, if I had more yellow in some area, I could mix in some red. I spent probably more time looking at it and thinking about it than actually doing anything. So I thought I had it where I wanted it, and so I started to dry it with my heat tool. But then I thought, you know what, I think I want a little bit more vibrant color in some areas. So I moved a little bit of the red around because it looked like it was a little bit faded in some areas. But actually, I'm not sure I really did that much different. So anyway, so now for real, I'm going to take my heat tool, and you don't have to worry about it damaging your stencil. It's totally fine. And I'm going to heat this until it is completely dry. So I don't want any wet areas whatsoever, because then it might run when I take the stencil off my cardstock. All right, so now I cleaned it up just a little bit, and now I'll peel it away, and you can see that the repositionable adhesive really helps a ton. If you don't use it, the water and the color creeps under the stencil and it ruins your design. Now, it turns out I had 2 pieces of cardstock on here. So anyway, I really love the way this turned out, even with just the 2 colors. It's so vibrant, and the detailed design looks really nice. Next, I'm just going to stamp the thank you sentiment and then the dotted circle inside. This is Nina Solar White cardstock with some Hero Arts black ink. I'm going to use my Misty for the heart, because I'm going to use my Memento Luxe red letter ink, and it's kind of a dry pad, so I thought I might have to stamp it a couple of times, and I did. I stamped it, I think, 2 or 3 times. And then, because this is a pigment ink, you can sprinkle it with some clear embossing powder and heat it to set it. It'll give it a nice shiny look. I was also careful to position the sentiment so that I could read it from left to right. And I'll take my Stitched Circles by Simon Says Stamp, which coordinates with this set, and I'm going to cut the circle out of there. And then I'm going to take my watercolor panel and I'm going to trim it out. And after I trimmed it, I realized that I didn't extend the watercolor more in one direction. I knew I would be cutting it, but I kind of underestimated how wide I needed it. So no big deal. I took some festive berries, which kind of matched my color, and I looked at the stencil and just matched up the lines and filled it in. I haven't used this next product in a while. It's called Shape and Tape. It's made by We Are Memory Keepers, and it's basically just a sheet of washi tape. And I really like it because it's very thin, so I can put just kind of a portion of a black strip that goes under and next to my cardstock, and I don't get it. It's not like a bumpy transition. So I'm going to place this on top of the strip. This is a 1/4 inch wide, and I'm going to eyeball it to be about halfway or so. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then I can just trim off the excess with a scissor. And this has release backing on the back of it. So what I'm going to do is put some tape runner on the watercolor, and then I'll peel off the backing from the Shape and Tape. It's much easier to peel the backing off when you tear it instead of cut it like I cut it, but I needed a really sharp, like crisp edge, so that's why I cut it. But it didn't really, this was actually real time, so I wanted to show you how long it takes to get the backing off. It doesn't really take that long. So then I'm going to put this on a Nina Solar White card base, just a standard A2 size, and I put some Scotch foam tape on the back of my sentiment circle and put it right there in the center. I was kind of sad to cover up the center of this, but I think there's plenty of really nice, pretty color showing. Anyway, that is the card for today. It was actually pretty easy to do, and I was really surprised how well the repositionable adhesive held my stencil to the cardstock with all of this color burst. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.